Hello, and welcome to Theocracy Watch. Did you know that recent polls show a 40% surge in Americans who believe the Bible should have a significant influence on U.S. laws? 40%. And just this week, the Supreme Court heard arguments that will fundamentally alter the landscape of public education, undeniably opening the door for state tax dollars to directly fund religious charter schools. This isn't a hypothetical anymore. It's happening right now. What happens when the aggressive push for religious influence in lawmaking collides head-on with the foundational principles of separation of church and state? We're talking about the stark reality of a creeping, running, crazed theocracy being imposed upon us, a system where religious doctrine increasingly dictates public policy. And at the heart of this discussion today is a landmark case before the Supreme Court that will pave the way for taxpayer money to fund religious education directly, shattering the lines we've long considered sacrosanct. The political landscape is increasingly fraught with battles where religious beliefs are weaponized to justify policies. But the current Supreme Court case escalates this to a dangerous new level. The question before the justices is whether Oklahoma must fund a Catholic charter school, St. Isidore of Seville virtual charter school, with public money. This isn't merely about school choice. It's about the state directly financing religious instruction. This case is a blatant assault on the very notion of a secular public education system and will set a precedent for similar initiatives across the nation, inevitably diverting significant public funds towards religious institutions. And as we discuss this Catholic Church pursuit of taxpayer funds, we cannot ignore a dark and undeniable aspect of its recent history: the widespread and systemic child crisis within the church. The revelations of abuse by clergy and the subsequent cover-ups have inflicted profound and lasting trauma on countless individuals worldwide. This isn't just a historical footnote. It's a present reality that continues to erode trust in the institution for many. The sheer scale of the harm, the betrayal of trust by those in positions of authority, and the long-term suffering of survivors raises serious ethical questions about the church's moral authority and its claim to serve the public good. For many, the immense damage inflicted on vulnerable children far outweighs any charitable or educational work the church undertakes or claims to undertake. This context is crucial as we consider whether this institution with this history should be further supported by public tax dollars. Now, consider the Supreme Court weighing the arguments for publicly funding St. Isidore of Seville virtual charter school. We must ask, does the significant wealth of the church, coupled with the devastating legacy of the child abuse crisis, factor into the moral calculus of allocating taxpayer money to these people? While the legal arguments focus on the First Amendment, the ethical dimensions cannot be ignored. Are we, as taxpayers, being asked to further support an institution that has caused immense harm and whose moral standing is deeply compromised in the eyes of many? This case isn't just about the legal precedent. It's about the values we uphold as a society and whether public funds should flow to an entity with such a tarnished record, particularly when that entity possesses considerable financial resources of its own. The debate over theocratic influence in the U.S. has reached a critical, dangerous juncture, now compounded by serious questions of accountability and moral authority. The Supreme Court's decision on the St. Isidore case will be a watershed moment, potentially unleashing a torrent of public money directly to religious schools, including one tied to an institution with a deeply troubling past. Understanding the legal arguments and the profound ethical implications is crucial for anyone who values the future of secularism, the separation of church and state, and the protection of vulnerable individuals in our democracy. Vigilance and forceful discussion, acknowledging the full weight of history, are now paramount. What do you make of the Supreme Court case in light of the Catholic Church's wealth and the horrific abuse crisis? What are the devastating long-term effects if public funds are mandated for religious charter schools connected to an institution with such a compromised moral standing? Let me know in the comments below. This is a conversation we must have in its entirety, openly, publicly. Let's not forget that. Sin safely, my friends. Take care.